So to get started with the setup of your QuickBooks integration, you'll need to head to the settings screen at the top of your dashboard. And here you'll see the integrations menu where you'll find the QuickBooks icon and the green connect button. This will take you directly into the QuickBooks App Store, where you'll give permission for both of the applications to connect to each other. And then we'll go back into the Katana platform and start the setup dialog. So, okay, there's 4 steps involved in the setup process. Number 1 is where you select the type of accounting that you're going to be using with this integration. Then we'll do ledger accounts mapping, tax types mapping, as well as the data import. Super simple. But let's talk first about the types of accounting use cases that we support. We have simple accounting and accounting with inventory. So the difference here is that with simple accounting, we enable you to map your sales orders to a revenue account and generate invoices against that revenue account. And we allow you to map purchase orders against an expense account and map bills to that dedicated expense account anytime you are pushing invoices and bills into your QuickBooks. Now, accounting with inventory is a little bit different in the sense that we allow you to map a third type of account, which is an asset account, which is where the inventory is going to be deducted anytime a sales order is shipping product out. So for example, the inventory that's on the sales order that's being sent will reduce by X amount of your value, and then the expense will be passed on to cost of goods sold. So if you want to have the cost of goods sold expense made available on the income statement, you'll use this methodology. Now, for the sake of simplicity, the 2 types of use cases are very simple, actually, with the exception of what the accounting with inventory does over the simple accounting use case. So for the setup process, just to make this demo as easy to understand as possible, we're going to go with accounting with inventory since it covers this use case anyhow. Now, going to the next step, this is where you start to connect all of the different ledger accounts on your QuickBooks with Katana. So for example, for your Katana sales, which in this case would be like product income, we might map this dedicated to general revenue, for example. For inventory balance, we can map this to an inventory asset account. And then when it comes to cost of goods sold, I don't think I have an equivalent here, so I'll do cost of sales, which would be a simple one to associate it with. So now that all of these 3 are mapped, this is where those specific transaction values are going to be created. So just want to point out that when you're using the accounting with inventory as the basis for your QuickBooks setup, is anytime that the sales order is delivered against an invoice and that item is sent out from your inventory value drops and cost of goods sold expense increases. And that specific process will create a journal entry within your QuickBooks account when this type of setup is created. So the next step of the process is whatever tax types you have currently available, which are available here in the tax rate section. I currently only have just one Katana tax rate. I can map that to any of the associated tax rates that I have inside of my QuickBooks account. So for example, 20% VAT is one example I'll use here. And the next step here is importing all of your customers as well as all of your suppliers from QuickBooks into Katana. So in the previous video, where we talk about the general data structure, this is where that information, such as contacts, gets pushed from QuickBooks into Katana during the setup phase. And one thing I want to mention is that if, for example, you're adding more contacts into QuickBooks and you want to bring them back into Katana after you've already connected, you can disconnect and reconnect to do this data import over again to bring in new information. Also, simultaneously, if you're adding new customers or suppliers directly into your Katana account by itself, then remember the match criteria to create the invoice or create the bill, if no match is found, will create that specific record for you within your QuickBooks account anytime that process is initiated and therefore doesn't find a match. So the information does flow over anytime you create the invoice or create the bill from the Katana side and it doesn't find the match for items or customers or suppliers. So once you do that, the whole process begins, and that's where all of the information begins to flow in. So once you've completed the setup process, in the next video, we'll do a general overview of how the creation of invoices and bills actually works when you're using the integration inside of the Katana application.